So here we are, back again. Well, here's how I got into my first relationship. Did anyone ever ask to hear about this? No? Well, too bad. So it all started back in 2019 when I was almost 17 years old, in my second last year of high school, and our year level coordinator was going around selling chocolates for a fundraiser. Side note, did anyone else at school ever do that? Like, just give you the big 50 pack of chocolates so that you had to sell and then donate all the money back to them? Every time I got one, I just ate them all, and my parents would have to pay for it all out of pocket. Yeah. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Anyway, safe to say they quickly put a stop to me getting them in the future. Anyway, me being me, I had a massive sweet tooth, and I was like, hell yeah, I wanted chocolate. But the teacher was charging $1 per chocolate, and I was short in coin. And the teacher didn't have one of those card scanners that most shops use for digital transactions, which I don't know why they would have. But anyway, I was bummed out, and I couldn't get my chocolate. Then, out of nowhere, this random girl who I've never spoken to before gave the teacher $1 and told me to take my pick. I was completely baffled, like no random person had ever done this for me before. Am I being bullied? Is this some crazy ploy to kidnap me? Am I in an alternate dimension where people pay for strangers' chocolates? Unless maybe there's a slight chance that she might like. No, the other options are a lot more plausible, yeah. The next day, I found her and I gave her the $1 to pay her back for the chocolate. And I honestly thought that was the end of it. But over the next few weeks, this girl was just talking to me. During these days, I could often be found drawing on my laptop and with a small drawing tablet, and it turned out she also liked to draw digitally. So she would often use that as a reason to come talk to me, and it turned out we also both had a mutual interest in anime. This is pretty neat. I got this new friend, we have similar interests, she's pretty cool, and we're even in a couple classes together, and oh my god, I still don't know her name. I didn't know this person's name, and since I've been talking with her for a couple of weeks now, it would be very embarrassing for me to admit it. So, to protect my own dignity, I decided to pay attention to conversations she would get involved in and listen in hopes they would mention her name. And it worked. I learned her name. But for the sake of people's identities and protecting them, let's call her, I don't know, Pat. So me and Pat eventually even got close enough that we even gave each other some gifts, and it was probably around that point where I was starting to feel uncertain about where we stood regarding one another and my own feelings towards Pat. Do I like her? Is she just a friend to me? I think she likes me. Wait, does that make me arrogant thinking that she does like me? Hey Ollie, do you like Pat? Yeah, as a friend, yeah. I don't know. Cool. Did you just get sent over by Pat and her friends to gauge my opinion of her? Holy shit, she has a crush on me. Most likely. Maybe. High school romance, am I right? Anyway, I need to understand my feelings, so I thought, well, what do most people do when they're trying to gauge if a romance will work? They go on dates! Oh no. Our literature class was going on a school trip to the city later on in the week for a performance of some kind. We were told that after the performance we would be dismissed and can do whatever we wanted, whether that be go home or hang out in the city and whatnot. And so I suggested to Pat that we can hang out, just the two of us in the city. She agreed, and we decided to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the city library and maybe grab some food. At the time, I would play Yu-Gi-Oh! With my friends, and at times Pat would come sit with us and watch. Since she seemed curious about the game, I offered to teach her how to play at the library. Cool. The date was set. We had a plan. It was now time to get to the bottom of these feelings. And so the day came. I went into the city, met up with my classmates, went through the performance, and then met up with Pat at the front of the building. We said our goodbyes to our friends, and then headed over to the library. We're having a great time, chatting and disturbing people that actually came here to study. Now, as Pat had never played Yu-Gi-Oh! Before this, I was practically walking her through it, giving the recommendations of what moves to make. At one point, I recommended for her to use a trap card in response to one of my own actions, and so, as she proudly flipped it over, she yelled, in a large public library, mind you, "You activated my trap card!" It was at that moment, as she looked around embarrassed, that I thought to myself, oh, I got it bad. So we kept hanging out and chatting for about another month or so, and at this time, my good mate, let's call him Steve, was hosting a pool party at his house, and I was invited alongside Pat. And so we went, and it was a good time. I was there with my friends, the pool was heated, and most importantly, there was food. Eventually, I was chatting to Pat while snacking on chips or whatever. Now, if you know anything about me, you would know that I'm introverted as hell. So I was starting to get exhausted by being around so many people, and I needed a break. So I let Pat know I needed a quick break, and I was going to go for a walk. She asked if she could come along, and I said sure, as my problem was being around many people, not just one. Now, Steve at the time lived right next to this open field that you could just hike through, and so that's where me and Pat went. We walked through this field and found ourselves at an old gate, which, awesomely enough, had a fantastic view of the setting sun. And at that moment, as she watched the sun, I was watching her, and I thought to myself, I gotta tell her how I feel. So when the sun had settled, we'd both sat at the old gate, and nothing. I was trying to build up the confidence to tell this person how I feel, and at this point, I was 90% sure she liked me back. In fact, I was pretty sure she liked me first. But still, even then, I was terrified. But also, as this was my first relationship, I didn't know what to do. Did I kiss her? Do I just admit it? Do I serenade her with a song? But in the end, I forced the words out. Hey, I really like you. It was quiet, and I was so nervous. But I was confident that there was only two total answers that I would hear back. Either, I like you too, or, no, I don't feel the same way. So when I tell you, I was thrown for a loop when she said, I know. And I think she realized immediately that was a very confusing thing to say. And she quickly, while slightly fumbling over her words, admitted the feeling was mutual. And I kid you not even a few seconds later, I get a call from my mate wondering where I was, as from their perspective, I just left the party without letting anyone know. Safe to say, all the nervousness and tension was diffused. Pat and I laughed about it, and then we officially became boyfriend and girlfriend. And there you go. That's how I got into my first relationship. I mean, technically I did have an extremely short relationship before that, but due to events, I don't really count it.